Hi, I'm Andy and welcome to the English Watch. This is the On the Wrist series where you'll be seeing more of the watches and less of me. Please don't forget to like this video and please subscribe, and don't forget to leave any comments at the end. Today we're going to be looking at the Omega Seamaster Diver 300 007 edition as worn by Daniel Craig in the upcoming James Bond movie No Time to Die. Keep watching to find out what I thought when I tried on both the mesh bracelet and the NATO version of this watch. Back in December 2019 we got our first glance at James Bond's new watch to be released in February 2020. Said to be influenced by Daniel Craig himself, an Omega and watch enthusiast. This watch is to be worn by Bond in the upcoming new movie No Time to Die and originally planned for an April 2020 release. It now looks like we'll have to wait until November 2020 at the earliest to see if this watch has any surprises, or just tells the time. This is not a limited edition, but will probably stay in Omega's catalogue until the next Bond movie arrives in a few years' time. Of course, this isn't the first watch to be released for the new No Time to Die movie. We also have the Swatch Q Special Edition. This watch was released in February 2020 and is said to match Q's personality and style, featuring a tartan plaid brown leather strap, sharp red edges and a sunbrush dial showing off the complex mechanism, joining Swatch and Q at 6 o'clock. So please go and check out my unboxing and review. So what are the standout features of this watch? Well, it's based on the steel 42mm case of the standard wave dial Diver 300 watch, but crafted in this instance from grade 2 titanium for a lighter feel on the wrist that give it some additional durability over its steel brother. The standard ceramic dial and bezel have been replaced by aluminium, with a very dark brown tint and a faux tropical patina applied to the indices and the dive registers, which are also luminous. The watch offers greater simplicity to the regular Diver 300, losing the date complication. The overall look of this piece is far more muted than the shinier steel version, and with the new bubble sapphire crystal has a very vintage aesthetic, and giving it a look that if you squint your eyes enough of the original Rolex Submariner 6538 worn by Sean Connery in the early Bond movies, especially when specified on the NATO strap. One of the more controversial aspects about this watch is the use of the broad arrow on the dial. This traditionally signifies a watch that's issued to the British military, but in this instance it's more of a reference to Commander Bond and his link to the military, and it signifies that this is a piece of issued equipment by the Royal Navy on active duty. Now these markings may put some people off, and they do tread a very fine line between what is a novelty watch and what is a watch that you don't have to be a die-hard James Bond fan to enjoy, unlike some of the more on-the-nose versions that have been released of late. Diving into the specs, this watch can be bought on either a titanium mesh bracelet or a NATO strap. Based on the regular Diver 300's 42mm case, this version is made from grade 2 titanium, obviously has exceptional water resistance at 300 metres and is nice and compact across the lugs at only 48mm. It carries Omega's controversial helium escape valve, and this is just a love it or hate it feature that you're just going to have to deal with. Caliber 8806 is the no-date version of the regular Diver 300 caliber 8800 and comes with all the usual refinements of Omega's latest master chronometer series, with exceptional accuracy of 0 to +5 seconds a day and exceptional anti-magnetic properties of up to 15,000 Gauss. Value-wise, the titanium mesh version comes in at £7,390 in the UK. Now that's £3,220 more than the standard Diver 300, and that means this is worth a whole Tudor GMT more than the standard version, and you've really got to want to have this version of the Diver 300 over the standard to justify the cost. Now for those that like NATO straps, you can save yourself nearly £900, but in this instance I'd recommend you went with the titanium mesh bracelet and picked up the NATO aftermarket. As an upgrade from the traditional polished wooden box that the standard Diver 300 is provided in, you get this delightful suede leather travel case that wouldn't look amiss in Bond's luggage. Okay, so let's see what this one looks like on my wrist. And for reference, my wrist is about 6 3/4 inches in diameter, which I think is about medium. So my first acquaintance with this watch was when I visited an authorised dealer during lockdown. You'll also see that I tried on the new JLC Master Control series, so please go check out the other On The Wrist episode. My first impressions of the watch were that it was very light, having been used to mainly steel watches in the past. It very much felt like part of the Seamaster dynasty with those classic looks and those unmistakable skeletonized hands. Pictures don't do this watch justice, and I was really taken by the colour combinations that Omega had used. Not only for the dial and for the bezel, but how they beautifully match the NATO strap. If you haven't tried them already, Omega makes some of the best NATO straps in the business, and this one was certainly no exception. I think this one is even more upscale than the aftermarket versions you can buy today, with a bespoke titanium buckle, and the fabric felt slightly stiffer than those that you would normally get, so I think this will be a very durable choice should you not wish to go with the Milanese mesh bracelet. And it's no surprise to see this type of material used on Omega's sister brand Blancpain, seen here on the 50 Fathoms Bathyscaphe. This is a brand that retails double that of the Seamaster and is not embarrassed to sell watches on a NATO. Under the glare of the bright lights in the authorised dealer, the matte aluminium dial and bezel and the brushed titanium case showed off how subdued the look of this watch really is. And with the addition of the bubbled sapphire crystal, a bit of a hark back to some of the more traditional watches with plexiglass crystals, give this watch its own look. Finally getting the watch on the wrist, you can see that it sits nice and flat and it's very compact lug to lug. My only gripe, as with all NATOs, is the little loop that sticks out past your wrist, and I find this bothersome, which is why I would buy this watch on the bracelet. Comparing it to the other watches in my collection at the time, this watch would bring an extra bit of style to an otherwise austere steel and black lineup. Moving over to the titanium mesh bracelet, we can see that Omega have form, where you can currently buy this type of bracelet on the Pro Plof professional dive watch. And going back in time with the JB Champion mesh band as worn by many astronauts during the Apollo era. I recently had the opportunity to try this watch on with the mesh bracelet at the new boutique at their manufacturing facility in Bienne. Being reacquainted with the watch after a few months, I was still blown away by the attention to detail and overall comfort of this piece, and on this strap it looked absolutely amazing. There were some extra nice touches like this little flip up clasp that helps the standard deployant manage the stiff titanium mesh, and that's where we find one of the downsides to this titanium mesh bracelet. It's quite stiff underneath, and with the shape of my wrist, I found that the overlap of the bracelet bunched up a bit too much and wasn't compliant, as you would get on a leather or a rubber strap. However, the agent did say that there may be a different size bracelet that might fit me better. So summing up, minor faults aside, I really like this watch. I love the style, I love the idea, and just keeping the James Bond motif just under the radar enough for it to be appealing to a wider audience. Do I have room in my collection now for another dive watch? One with a novelty factor? Perhaps, but I think I'd have to substitute one of the existing pieces to make room for it and to justify the expense. I think for now my collecting trajectory lies elsewhere, but I've really enjoyed reviewing this watch, and I hope you've enjoyed this content. So please give it a big thumbs up and let me know your comments on the watch also at the end. And don't forget to subscribe. Anyway, this has been the English Watch. Take care and I'll see you soon.